What do you do when you've had a consultation with somebody or a DM back and forth and you think they're leaning in to buying your program or your service and they send the dreadful email that says, "Dear you, thank you so much for your time. I've really enjoyed it all, but I've decided now is not the right time to move forward." Right? You get that pit in your stomach. You're like, I thought that I got that one. And it can feel really disappointing and frustrating. And, sometimes we internalize it and say, I did something wrong. What could I have done better? So I'm here today to tell you what to do when you receive an email that doesn't actually say no, but instead they're letting you know an objection that came up. So the distinction in sales is no means no, and an objection means help me change my mind. I'm struggling here, and this is the reason why I'm stopped. And if you identify as a coach, part of your job as a coach is to help people find a new perspective. And often when people are saying, now's not the right time, they are stuck in a box thinking that you need to help them change that perspective. So I first recommend trying to get them back onto the phone. But you can do a little bit of this over email. One caveat is I like to read between the lines of everything they said. So, for example, I just helped a client of mine through this. And one of the things that the person wrote in the email was, in other emails, she sent me the whole thread, was another question was, what if I can't finish your program? Or, for whatever reason, what if I can't finish your program? Then what? Right. And what she was looking for is maybe a response like, oh, you'll get a refund for unused services, which is usually not true. And if I got that question, I would have read through that question. And I don't know how my client responded because she said, I'll respond to all of this on the call. So I'm not sure what was said there. But what I would say is, why is there a belief inside of you that you wouldn't be able to finish the program? And what I'm trying to get at is this the right time, right? I'm not interested in trying to close a sale if it's not the right time for people, right? So I want to get under, why does somebody think they're not going to finish the program with me? Is it because they don't trust me and they're going to give me a trial run and then, release me if I don't produce results for them in 3 days? Is it that, they think that they don't really need me and maybe something miraculous will happen and they can let me go and not, have to continue paying for services? Or is it that they don't trust themselves to follow through? Because maybe they have never followed through on anything so far in whatever niche you're in. So there are lots of reasons why somebody may have that question. And so I'm not always fighting to, get the sale or get the client. But what I am always fighting for is a change in perspective and asking deeper questions to help them understand and to help me understand, is this the right fit? And is this the right time? And what's the thinking that's in their way of taking the next step? Often, if we say, oh, now's not the right time, or I'm going to think about it, or we choose to just never reply again. And I have done all of those things as a potential buyer, and I have experienced all of those things as a potential coach for somebody. And what I'm really looking for these days is a solid commitment. I don't want to work with somebody that's halfway in and halfway out. And so by asking deeper questions, I get a better understanding of who they are and if I think they're a good fit, and also how I might be able to help them move beyond this stuckness without even hiring me. So often when somebody says that they're not ready right now, if they're saying, no, thank you, not right now, maybe later, often what they're thinking is they're not ready. And one of my favorite questions, if somebody has enough self-understanding to, instead of saying not now, but they say, I don't feel ready for you. I often will ask the question, well, what does ready look like to you? And 9 times out of 10, I hear back, good question. Now notice, if someone can't answer the question what ready looks like, how will they ever know they're ready? How will they ever identify as ready? And what happens to these people is, because they never feel ready, they stay stuck where they are. One of my favorite books, The Slight Edge, Jeff Olson, and he talks about the spiral. And you can be on a downward spiral or an upward spiral, but there's never a neutral place. So where you are right now, if you stay there, it's effectively on a downward spiral, because it's going to get worse. So if I'm talking to somebody that is afraid to put themselves out there, and they're not putting themselves out there, and therefore they're not making any sales and they're not making any money, and they're completely stressed about it, well, if they stay right where they are, do you think their financial situation will stay neutral, will be in an upward spiral, or a downward spiral? Downward, right? And so it's a falsity to believe that you can stay where you are. And we'll often ask the question, what happens if nothing changes in the next 3 months? What would that look like? In the next 6 months, what would that look like? So I love just asking, what does ready look like? Because if they can't identify that, they're going to stay stuck, which effectively means they're going to be on a downward spiral. Now, not feeling ready, when somebody says not now, right? They're either stressed about time. They're either stressed about money. They, are kind of waiting for an influx of cash, or they're looking for something less expensive, that kind of thing. Or they may not trust you, or they may not trust themselves. And so getting into a deeper layer around that is the only way you might be able to turn that not right now into a yes. And I always invite them back into a phone call. It doesn't always work. I'm not going to be, I'm not going to say 10 out of 10 times somebody says yes, getting back on a call. Sometimes they've made the decision. Now is not the right time, and we have to respect that. But I will try to engage them to get back onto a call. And so I might reply back to the email and say, thank you so much for letting me know. I appreciate hearing where you stand right now. I have a question for you if you're willing to answer it. My question is, and then I might ask that deeper, what does ready look like? Or what kind of timing looks better for you? And let me know why. Because if the timing wasn't right when they booked a call with you, they wouldn't have booked a call with you. So why all of a sudden has something changed? Now, sometimes it's a diagnosis in the family, or the husband lost a job, or there's something going on with the kid that's tragic, and they need to sort that out, and they need to be there for their family. Now that, okay, like, we're not going to overcome that. We're going to respect where they are, and we're going to ask them if it's okay to reach back out, right? But if last week it was the perfect time, but yet this week it's not the right time, it might be because I just got confronted with possibly spending the most money I've ever spent in my life on insert transformation. I might have got confronted with, I've been getting away with being invisible and not really taking consistent action. And if I say yes to this relationship, I'm going to have to be out there loud and proud, and I'm going to have to overcome all of this stuff, and I'm not ready for that. Do you see how that's a different energy? And a good coach can hear that when they get back on the phone with somebody. And somebody who is truly ready but afraid is going to get back on the phone with you. Sometimes I'll say something like, if I ask the question and they reply and answer it, I'll say, I have some ideas for you. I'd love to get back on the phone. Would you be, or back on Zoom? Would you be willing to have like another 30-minute call? I think what I have to say is going to really help move you forward. So we're promising an outcome of the session. And also we're just continuously building that relationship. Now, what you're essentially trying to do is change the perspective around why not now is not serving them in any way, right? At what point are you going to draw a line in the sand or put a stake in the ground and say, enough is enough, something has to change right now? Because ultimately it takes about, depending, I always speak from a business niche, of course, because that's what I do. It ultimately takes about 90 days to change what's happening with your income in a consistent manner. It's not that you can't make a sale tomorrow or today if you want to. But often it takes 90 days to shift the attention, habits, behaviors, routines, to do the things you need to do to bring in a bigger audience, to build an offer, to get it out there. And to be able to get wins that are consistent with your sales goals, as opposed to getting a single win, which I celebrate single wins, right? But what I like to do is really help people take a single win and multiply it, right? I'm not going to celebrate just single win. I want to, continue and make sure that that's a thing that's repeatable. And so getting somebody back onto a Zoom and sharing how, things don't happen overnight. Sometimes it takes upwards of 90 days to get to the result that you want. Sometimes it takes even longer. So the longer you wait, add 90 days to that. And so when do you want to start seeing results? If you want to start seeing results next month or the month after, you got to say yes right now. You can't wait to say yes for the time you want to see results, because results take time, right? You guys, this is common sense. I totally get that. But this is not common sense when someone is in their mind, body, and spirit making a very scary decision. What is speaking loud and clear is their comfort zone, their subconscious mind that is saying, you don't need this. You haven't been doing it at all. We've been just fine. We're very safe here. You don't need any of this, right? And so it takes the power of the relationship between coach and potential client is to start coaching in the moment of their objection and say, who's in the driver's seat right now? Is it your fear? Is it like, are you not aware that your subconscious mind is running the same script over and over and over and over again? At what point are you willing to say enough? It is time to make a change, and it's starting right now. One of my mentors says the transformation is at the point of the transaction. And there's so much truth to that, because it's that point of no return. It's the stake in the ground. Like, right now, I am going to do this because I am so sick of my lackluster results, right? Maybe they had a terrible year last year and they're so beat down from it that they've lost their sense of purpose or their sense of self or their belief in themselves. Their hope has dimmed. And part of our job in the sales conversation is to brighten that light back up again. Remind them of what is possible. Based on what they told you, remind them of what they want, right? All based on what they told you. Just repeat it. You told me this is what you want. And by getting that, this is what you'll receive, or this was what will happen. Here's the ripple effect. Now, what on earth would be more important than getting started on that, right? Now, if they're still in the I don't feel ready, and I say, what does ready look like? And they say, good question, I don't know. Then I'll ask questions like, how come you're not ready? What are the things that make you feel like you're less than everyone else that I'm working with right now? Because there's truth. I don't work with brand new people in business, for example. I work with people that have got a sense of, who they are, what their niche is, what they're trying to do. And what I'm doing is helping them make more money doing it. And so if they say, well, I'm not ready because I'm brand new, then I'm like, okay, no, I wouldn't have gotten this far in the conversation. So that's not going to happen as far as a conversation with me. But I'm listening to what they think makes them disqualified from being ready. And what I'll often hear is, I'm not making the kind of money yet that would pay for your services. Okay. The perspective here is that you believe you need to make money before you can hire someone who's going to help you learn how to make more money. Got it. Okay. My question to you is, how do you think you're going to be able to make more money if you're going to continue doing everything that you're doing right now? How do you think that's going to bring you in any more money than what it's brought you in already? Because what you've been doing up until this point isn't going to get you further than where you are right now. There needs to be a jump in something, whether it's a jump in the consistency of your efforts, maybe it's a jump in terms of having your very first launch and getting it out there and stop, relying on referrals and networking groups. Maybe there's going to be a jump in your price, in your offer. Maybe instead of selling, a 5-pack of sessions, you're going to develop a 6-month journey with you and make several $1,000s as a result of that. So there's a jump that needs to happen, right? People call it like a quantum leap of some sort. And so if you don't get help, then you don't know how to do the things that will require you to jump. Right. And so it's a perspective you're holding that says you need to make more money before you can hire someone. And that perspective is going to keep you stuck right where you are. Often people are afraid to go into debt, or they refuse to go into debt. And I do argue with that all day long. I just make a case for what I believe in, which is, most of us that went and got a college education in the United States got a student loan. Our families did not tell us, here's what you need to do. You need to go out there and you need to work inside the career that you want to go to school for so that you can make money to pay for your college education. However long that takes, that's the way you're going to do it. You cannot go into debt when it comes to education. That's not the norm. The norm is that we're probably going to take out some loans in order to afford the education. And so the perspective someone's holding as a business owner can be changed and simply mirror the perspective of the culture we're in that says it's okay to borrow money when you're advancing in your career. Now, if you listen to Susie Orman or, God, I always have a blank on the other guy, but whatever, the two people that are constantly saying, debt is bad and don't go into debt and don't pay for what you can't afford. They're talking to consumers and they're basically telling you, don't go buy the snowmobile if you can't afford it. Don't go on a cruise if you can't afford it. And I'm not going to go into whether or not you should do that or not. Sometimes I think if you want to go on the cruise and pay it down. But that is the way I was raised, was to respect credit, use it if you need it, pay it off when you can, right? Or get yourself on a payment plan. So oftentimes when you hire a coach, their payment plan may have tacked onto it a 20% fee per month. So you effectively save 20% by paying the full pay up front. And often bonuses come with it too. So it's often a much better deal to do the full pay. What the coach is looking for is you're all in, right? And so we reward you for being all in by giving you a bonus and having you save money on the fees, because essentially collecting money from someone month after month after month does take man hours and extra time. And if they miss a payment, it takes even more time. So what we're doing is we're compensating ourselves for potential problems down the road. So some people will say, oh my gosh, but I don't have, $8,000, $10,000, $12,000, $15,000. I don't have that in my account. Got it. Okay. Is there a credit card that you can have that's at a 0% APR? I know I get those offers literally all the time. I could have a 0% APR for the next 18 months. So if I'm going to sign up for, and let's just do the math here. Here I am with my little calculator. If I'm going to sign up for a $15,000 program that I'm going to pay for in full with my credit card, and I'm going to divide that by 18 monthly payments, I'm going to be paying $833 a month to pay down that before the 0% expires. Now, I know I can pay that, right? Maybe I don't have $15,000 sitting in an account, but I can pay off, right? Or I can pay off half of that for months 1, 2, and 3, so that I have the 90 days to do what I need to do to get myself to start making more money. And then I can increase the payments on that debt, right? But like a single launch is going to pay that $15,000 off anyway. And so what we're trying to do is just shift the perspective. And again, I used business coaching examples, and you may be working with somebody that's not business coaching, but I think you can probably take what I just did and make it make sense for the niche that you're in, right? Because whether someone's in pain, like physical pain, or they're experiencing a health challenge that they need to overcome, or they're experiencing a deep desire for something that they don't yet have, such as a pregnancy or a soulmate love or something like that, you can still talk about the cost of waiting and the length of time things take, right? But when you say yes with an all-in commitment and you spend, let's say, that $15,000 on something, then you're like, oh, I am all in. I am going to do every single thing you tell me to do. I am going to show up to every single meeting. I'm going to do my homework because that's the most expensive thing I've ever bought. That happened. I mean, I spent $30,000 on a coach, and that is what happened to me, is because I spent so much money on her. I did everything she told me to do. And if I was resisting, I had a business bestie that would just go, 30K coach, like, reminder how much money you just spent up front. And I went and got my own loans because her financing was going to cost me way too much money per month. And I knew I could get it at a cheaper cost. And so I did. So what she had was an all-in 30K payment. And what I had was a year-long commitment to myself and to my business with this person helping me learn in that, at that time, online business. I was leaving one mentor who was teaching me in-person events and networking and speaking because I wanted to move into that online space. So my dream was worth the investment. And the investment in advancing myself and my dreams forward, right? That was worth it. But I certainly didn't say, oh, only 30,000? Here, let me write you a check. She had to overcome my fear of investing in myself in that way. And that's what I'm helping you learn how to do, is to help change the perspective of somebody who doesn't feel ready, which ultimately usually means that on the inside, they either don't yet trust you, they don't yet trust themselves, they don't think that they are qualified enough to do this thing. And instead of being able to say that, whether they can't admit that to themselves or they don't want to, or they don't even see it because it's a blind spot, what comes out of their mouth is, I'm not ready. And if you can have a nice coaching conversation around letting them see that that perspective is going to not only keep them where they are, but effectively send them on a downward spiral, how much time do they have to waste in a downward spiral world? Probably not much, right? Because most of the time when people get onto a sales call with you, it's because they are ready right now, because they have been ready for 3 months or 6 months or 9 months. They've been pining over it. They've been crying over it. And they finally had the courage to get on the phone with you. So they're moving the needle. They're beyond a 5 on a scale of 1 to 10. They're beyond the 5 because they booked a call with you. And it's your job as the potential coach to help move them from beyond a 5 to the 10. Yes, I'm fully committed. Yes, I'm ready. Yes, I'll do it afraid. So that is how I recommend you overcome any sort of email objection, or if they come back to you, in person, which sometimes happens, where they say, now's not the right time, or I'm not ready. I just want you to practice using your coaching skills to ask deeper questions and find out, what does ready look like for them? What are the reasons why they feel they're not ready? And what will happen if they keep waiting? How long have they waited up until this call with you? And what's going to happen if they keep waiting? And I promise you, this ability can help you turn about 50% of those people that weren't ready into a committed yes. So send me a DM. Let me know what you thought of this video. And if you want to know any other objections, how to overcome other objections, let me know, because that's what I'm here for. All right, Coach Katie Collins. See you again soon.